And now let's move on to NATO, because there's one part of this prediction that I talked about, military conscription of NATO. And I've pulled out NATO's chart. I've put out the progressions of NATO's chart. I've also put out the solar arc directed chart of NATO and stacked them together around the time of that last eclipse in Aries, Libra axis, at the end of March of next year. I think it's on 29th of March. So I've all set the date as 29th of March when I do progressions and solar arc and stack them together. Wow, the amount of activations that I see is amazing, because natally in NATO's chart, they do have a stellium in Aries in their 7th house. They do have a late degree Virgo rising, but they have Neptune in the 1st house, which is an ideology. And it's at 13 degrees of Libra, opposing all this Aries stellium in their 7th house. Using eclipse activations, particularly the eclipse that we had in the beginning of October 2024 at 10 degrees of Libra, I think. And then further down the road, the end of March 2025, we have the last eclipse along Aries Libra axis at 9 degrees of Aries. And this is right on top of NATO's Mars and Venus in Aries. If we use a larger orb, it's also going to conjunct NATO's Mercury as well. So some shit's about to go down. I think we all have heard what Biden has been doing since Trump has been proclaimed the winner of the 2024 elections. He's been amping up via NATO on attacking Russia via Ukraine. And this chart basically tells me that there's going to be more of that coming. But
Sorry,
Russia will not. Yeah.
what did you say? Who said they'll attack Russia?
Biden.
Oh, but he's not going to be a president anymore.
But in the last, 50, 60 days, he basically just amped up everything.
Mm-hmm.
And via NATO, via Ukraine and NATO, he's basically
Yeah, I know what happened.
so
Along the weapons.
I will go on and say that in 2025 there's going to be more of that, because from the activations I can see some shit's about to go down. But as I said, there's a narrow window around the September 2025 period whereby there's a potential discussion of ceasefire that is available. Otherwise, after that window has closed or has missed, then it's going to drag on to 2026, 27. And that's why I've put here that there's potential nuclear war, because if that window in 2025 is being missed or squandered or wasted or all that, then we may see some escalation moving forth. And one thing to note, which I mentioned earlier, will be about the Saturn-Neptune cycles. Because Saturn-Neptune cycles is very much linked to the ideology of socialism and communism. And Saturn-Neptune cycles are very much linked to the influence of Russia in the world. Because remember last time in 1989, well, on top of the launch of the World Wide Web, which is also linked to Saturn and Neptune, in 1989 is also when the Berlin Wall fell as well. So it's very much linked to the Saturn-Neptune cycle. And I've actually put here what actually happened during Saturn-Neptune previous cycles, like back in 1953, what actually happened that somehow linked back to the system of socialism and also communism as well. So there's a lot of things going on for NATO, particularly coming coming up in late March of 2025 with that partial solar eclipse in NATO 7th house, activating their Aries stellium. So what this basically
And
tells
Mars
me
in
is
particular. Wow, right on Mars.
1 degree off. The one in early October 2024, the one in Libra is more exact in terms of opposing Mars.
Mhm. Yes,
Yeah.
opposing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's at 10 Libra. This one's at 9 Aries. So yeah, still close,
Yeah,
and this one's
yeah, 1
conjunction.
degree, yeah.
And then you've got Mercury and Venus, and then Sun is also nearby. And then the progress moon of NATO in the middle chart is at 12 Aries, still pretty close to the eclipse point. And then solar arc, Jupiter is at 12 Aries as well, pretty close to the eclipse point at 9 Aries. Wow, okay. So what this basically tells me is that this may well trigger Article 5 of the NATO Treaty that sets up the precedence of compulsory military conscription for its member countries in 2025. And I think places like Germany, France, and UK have already pushed this through, or very close to push this through. So in 2025, we may actually see a lot of people going for protests because they don't believe to be sent to Ukraine to die for NATO's causes. So that is a good portion of what I want to say. And also, the total lunar eclipse, particularly in the middle of March 2025 on Danibula, 23 degrees of Virgo, is pretty close to conjunct NATO's NATO ascendant at 20 to 21 Virgo. So you can see how much 2025 is like this, like trigger point again and again in NATO's chart pertaining to that. So there may be I see a lot of protests basically when we go into spring and summer of 2025. Because would you want your kid to be sent to a meat grinder to die for Ukraine? I'm just saying. So let me go to the chart of Russia this time. So I've asked one of my astrology friends what is the most trusted Russia chart to use. So I've settled on this one. In 1991, 8th of December at 1745 set for Moscow. And using this base chart and deriving the rest from it. This points me to what I've mentioned earlier, that the opportune period to discuss about a ceasefire is around September, around the 21st to 22nd September 2025 partial solar eclipse at the end of Virgo, very close to the cardinal axis 0 Libra particularly. But this period may actually start right from 8 to 12 of August of 2025. So to actually put the whole opportune window for ceasefire diplomacy discussions, this will start from beginning of August and it finishes up right to the end of September, if ever there's an agreement that's about to take place. Leading up to this period, I do see a whole bunch of peace protests that's against military conscription in order to prolong the Russia-Ukraine war. There needs to be enough resistance, definitely. So, I'm putting it out there so people know. For people who are traveling to Europe next year, there are certain periods whereby you may want to hold back from traveling to Europe for. Because if this window has been missed, this will kind of take us into this Cold War that's symbolized by that Neptune-Pluto sextile that's going to be in close proximity from 2026 all the way to 2032 before they finally separate in their sextile aspects. And not to forget that in 2026 February, we do have again that Saturn-Neptune conjunction in early Aries coming back after they've done their retrograde period in Pisces. And we may actually see some kind of Russian influence expanding as well. So if you miss this period in Q3 of 2025, mid to late Q3 of 2025, then in February 2026, we may see some kind of escalation, put it that way, some kind of chaos, which may ensue.